When the trailer is delivered, it'll arrive to your facility in a similar manner, strapped down onto a trailer, whether it be one of these short decks or on a semi. The trailer is held on to the trailer that is transporting it using the straps, and that's the main anchor point. Once the straps are removed, you'll be able to come in with a forklift and unload the trailer off. In the event that the trailer is being used to deliver has a ramp, you can always turn the trailer sideways and roll them off. That event isn't as likely, so I will demonstrate in this particular case how to unload using a forklift and all of the points to keep in mind when unloading. First thing is to make sure the straps have been loosened and are out of the way. So I will do that. When removing the straps, one thing to keep in mind is you don't want the hook, the metallic part, to go over the trailer, as you could scratch the body. So in this end, I'm just pulling, make sure that I have the other end. That way I cause as little damage to the trailer finish as possible. In most cases, there will also be plastic guard that'll need to come off. I want to zoom in here, as with the forklift, the goal is going to be to keep the forks high enough that they don't hit this cross beam on the axles that we use for support, but also low enough that I'm not scratching on the paint finish. I have the forklift pulled in. I'm going to zoom in here so that we can see you've got the forks in between. That way it prevents, again, any scratching. You don't want to be too low. You also don't want to be too high. Be careful up at the top. The crank on the handle may be in the way, so you have to move it around. Once you've made contact with the trailer itself, back it out a little bit. Now you're able to lift up your trailer. And then you're able to back out. When installing the taillight, we will need the hardware found inside the hardware box. This little bag says taillight hardware. You will need a 5/8 wrench. You have a carriage bolt that goes from the inside out. You have 2 on each side. also have 2 washers, so it'll be taillight plate on, washers, and bolts. Start with this side. From here, I'll skip over to the part where I put all 4 of them on. It should be. After the trailer has been registered, this is where you'll mount the license plate. Then we'll take this and we'll run it towards the front, where we will grab the other end and run it through the tongue. Raising and lowering of the jacks is identical for all 4 sides. You can come in, take this pin out, we'll lower this plate, then simply extend the forklift until pressure is being made, and then you can level the trailer, have it come up off the ground in case you need to take the wheels off or various other things. When storing, raise this back up, put it into place. This pin here. Now the jack is fully removed. This also gives you access to the 2 stabilizing legs in the back of the trailer. This is only the back of the trailer, the front has a loosening of these bolts here can be done with a hand tool, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to use an electric drill. Remove it. You have 2 washers on here. This other one out. Slide this back. And start these by hand. Now you can add the jack back here. You would do the same to the other side, and then you're ready to deploy your solar array. When deploying the solar array, need to remove this pin clip that is going to be in this area. This one extension to the other side comes with a washer, a pin, and a clip. Remove both sides. You may have to lift up a little bit to get them to come out. And then from the back, you have more control. Lift it up. Have it come down to the position back here on this other one. Just slide the pin in. Place your clip back in. Do that to the other side. I'll move you guys over to the side so you can see me doing it. Again, just lift up, make sure you get the right angle on that. You'll know you've secured it and you can't lift the solar panel up anymore. You can do this step before extending the solar panels or after. In order to extend the solar panels, some people find it easier to do that while the solar panels lay flat. That's what I'll show you today. There's your red tab here and here. The same thing on the other side for the other panel. So you'll click on the clip down. You'll hold gently on the solar panel, put it on the other side, and then have it extend all the way. You'll know that it's secure when you can't push it back in. I'll show you the same on the other side. Again, right click, up gently, tug on the panel as it's being extended. It's locked into place and you can't push it back in. When you're trying to close the solar panels, you'll do the same thing. You'll grab this pin and instead of pulling, you'll push gently away from you. So just click on both sides and you push and lock into place. Same thing on the other side. Click on the pin, push it gently away from you. Click the other side. Push all the way in. Got it click. You can't come out anymore. Then you know they're locked into place. Now the solar panels aren't fully deployed until they are in their tilted position. In order to do that, come over here, remove the safety pin, flip on this side, on the other side, goes out, go to the back of the solar array. You can use one hand to do this operation. Tilt it into place. Then you take this pin, push it back into place. On the other side, I'm giving you a bit of a close-up so you can see what I'm doing. Insert this pin through there. Line up the clip from the other side into place. You know that it's secure. You can no longer lift up the solar panel. This is what it'll look like when you receive your unit camera assembly. taillight bar and extension cable, hardware box, hitch receiver piece. First thing we want to do before mounting the cameras is prepare the mast. What we want to see is that we have the coupler ends already on. I went ahead and did them. The second thing, we have enough room on the topmost section of the mast so that we can get a tool in. We can screw in those nuts and bolts. You do that by lifting up and down on the mast. You crank it up, crank it down. You stop when you have just enough clearance. In order to mount the camera on the top section of the mast, we want to make sure we have a ladder, 9/16 tool, whether it be a socket or a wrench. The hardware provided in the hardware box that was located inside of the trailer upon delivery. It's a little bag. It says top of pole. When installing the camera, you'll want to get these hooks into the slots that are located on the top section. It is best to have 2 people doing this, but it is doable with 1 individual. You'll line up those hooks, slide them in, lift them up. Ensure that you're always pushing away so that it doesn't come back on you. Once I have the mast upright, take my bolts, stick them through. There's 2 sections, one on the front, one on the back. Take your washer and nut. Tie them into place. Always start by tightening up the one farthest away. Again, you don't want to come towards you. Remember, washer, lock washer, nut. The lock washer is the one that's slightly smaller that looks like a spring or a section of a spring. Yes, the lock washer on the other side, so put that on first. We'll continue. Again, 9/16. Tighten this up. Then we'll take cables here, connect them to our couplers. there, once everything's locked into place, you can make sure everything's nice and secure. We can begin cranking up the mast. And again, so with the crank here, this will raise up to our desired height, and then we would go back in to the control panel, turn all of our breakers on, which would turn all the equipment on. The cameras would then turn on. Here we have our power management system, the power assembly for the controller. We have our solar charger. That's the MPPT 150. The remote monitoring, the Servo GX, it's the blue and green flashing lights. Down below, we've got a 120 inverter. It takes 24 volts in, gives you 120 volts out. The breakers that control the system and turn everything on and off, you turn them on by going 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn it off by going 4, 3, 2, 1. Here I've gotten a close-up so that I can show you where to put the guy wires. Obviously, you will have the camera section attached when doing this, but in order to give you a good view of everything, I decided to take it off. First clip, first anchor point, this big main one right here. Then there's 2 slots on the corners. Slide into place right there. Now these can go either way, from the outside, from the inside. The point is to get them to secure be anchored properly. Make sure your clip is nice and snug. Again, on both sides. Then, once this mast is fully raised, you would, forming a triangle, go out as far as the 25-foot cable will allow you, and then hammer in the pins so that this stabilizes this last section. I removed one of these sections of guy wires so I can show you the other place that needs to anchor and stabilize the mast. That would be these 2 knobs right here. Once screwed in, these you can easily screw them in by hand. This would create a stable, does not move section. In order to successfully raise and lower the mast, you will need to crank on the swing. Make sure to keep your hand as far away from the gear mechanism as this is coming down. You could suffer pinching of the fingers. Simply just guide the wire into the correct slot as it's being pulled in. As you can see, the wire just goes right into the next slot. Keep cranking. And it'll turn itself back. There will come a point where a hole will become visible through there. As you can see, there's a spot just a little higher up. I missed it this time. But if I wanted to have the mast be halfway extended, this is the spot where I would end. However, there's a second height where it is fully extended. It is also indicated by a red spray painted section. If you get to the red spray painted section, you've gone too far, you need to come back a few clicks. Here you can see that red spray paint section. Again, if you see this coming up above, you've gone too far, you need to go back a few clicks. Right to the point where it is shown like this, where it's barely hidden. You can also see that the slot is now accessible. You can see all the way through. Taking this pin right here, remove the clip. Now this guy comes out, and we can slide this all the way through. Put the clip back into place. Pull them out. That'll prevent the mast from coming down. Whenever you need to collapse the mast, remove this, put it back in the storing position, insert the clip, and now you're able to fully lower the mast and move on to the next area. When taking the camera down, we will do the steps that we did to put it up in reverse. So, first thing you do, undo these. Put that hang down. Loosen this up. Always do the side closest to you first before doing the back. That way you don't just come back and hit you as you undo them. Make sure to secure all the hardware. Then gently pull this back. You'll need to pop the bolts out. Make sure those get removed. Otherwise it'll prevent you from coming out. Make sure to grab this firmly as it comes down. Push away, and cameras have been released. Now you just have to secure them properly as they begin to lower down. When storing the jacks or when transporting the trailer, it is important to raise the jack up. Remove this pin. You can store the jacks inside of the trailer, or you can put them, when towing, you can put them in the back of your pickup or vehicle that you're using to tow. But when moving the trailer, it is always important to have the jacks detached. When putting them back on, simply insert them, make sure the pin's lined up. Make sure you still have this pin, if it's not falling out. And you can raise your jack into place.